So we all know the contents of the play The Eumenides by Aeschylus. And we know that the Furies, there's two different ways that they possibly came to be. And one of them is clearly Aeschylus's favorite. He has them referred to it multiple times throughout the text, even though the footnotes do mention the other way, but Aeschylus is like the main proponent of this way, and the way is they are children of night. He has the Furies say, "Mother who brought me into the world, Mother Night, and we are Night's children," and there's a lot of other quotes. The point is, he's like, oh, they're definitely children of night. He's really the first person that I can find who says that, so certainly. Everyone else that I could find was at least 100 years, some of them 300-ish years later, but the way that they came into being, that everyone else knows, that is really the accepted one. I think it's just a lot more interesting, and it gives the Eumenides a lot more power, which I think might be the reason that Aeschylus didn't go for that one. So the way that they possibly came into being, according to a guy about 200 years earlier than Aeschylus wrote the Eumenides, so around 700 BC, there's a Greek poet named Hesiod, and he wrote the Theogony, which has a lot of stories about how the gods came to be. So basically, I don't know how much you guys know of this. I learned almost all of this today, so bear with me. But like, Zeus, his father's father, used to just rule everything. And that guy, he was named Uranus, and he was basically heaven. And he had a bunch of children with the earth. And the earth's name was Gaia, so I'm going to call her Gaia. And she had a lot of kids with him that caused like a bunch of kind of weird people. They had 3 Cyclops kids, and they had 3 kids who just had like 50 arms. They were called the 100-hand kids. And for some reason, Uranus, the father, the heaven guy, he's like, I hate those guys. Go put them, stuff them underground. He imprisoned them underground. And it's kind of funny because the earth, right, that's his wife, and so he's basically just stuffing the kids back into his wife, right? She didn't like that. She thought that was pretty evil, imprisoning their own children, obviously. And so she was like, you're not fit to be a father. Stop making kids. And so she went around to all of her kids and were like, is anybody willing to help me castrate this man, this god? He needs to be taken down, basically. And Uranus's Titan son, the youngest one, who then gave birth to Zeus later on. So that guy, his name's Kronos. He was up for the task and was like, all right, I want to read this here. He got a sickle, right? So that way he had a tool to do it. And the Theogony says thus, and heaven came, bringing on night and longing for love, and he lay about earth, spreading himself full upon her. And then the sun from his ambush stretched forth his left hand, and in his right hand took the great long sickle with jagged teeth, and swiftly lopped off his own father's members, and cast them away to fall behind him. And not plainly did they fall from his hand, for all the bloody drops that gushed forth earth received, and as the seasons moved round, she bore the strong Erinyes, or the Furies. Also, according to this account, those lopped off members got cast into the sea, and I didn't know this, but that is what caused Aphrodite to come out of the ocean. Like, it gathered a bunch, I'll read it. A white foam spread about the immortal flesh, and in it there grew a maiden, and that was Aphrodite. So I always thought she just like popped out of the ocean out of some random foam, but so this castration caused one of the most famous female goddesses with, in control of her own sexuality, right? Like, powerful woman, and it caused the Erinyes, who take justice into their own hands. They're like these vigilantes, right? And it's because it's a woman, a wife, taking control over her honestly abusive husband, right? So this is just like an extreme tale of just like women kind of having power. And I think that that's why Aeschylus didn't put it in his story. I honestly think that it doesn't serve his purpose as a guy who's trying to write a story about putting down those strong women. It would totally match what Clytemnestra was doing with her husband. Her husband killed his daughter, obviously. Clytemnestra was angry, and she was like, I'm going to dethrone you. Just like Uranus, he's over here imprisoning his kids. Gaia is angry, and she's like, I'm going to dethrone you. And they have slightly different methods for doing it, I'll admit. It's not like Gaia killed him, especially with her own hands. But the point is, I think that those two stories have very similar arcs, and so removing the reference of that, removing the Furies from having reference to that, also kind of removes some of Clytemnestra's validity in choosing to do that. It helps demonize them. It makes them feel crazy. Another interesting thing about Aeschylus's version of the Eumenides, of the Furies, is that he has them say that they won't fight Clytemnestra because she's not fighting the bloodkin, which is really interesting. It's a way to kind of delegitimize their sense of justice, because I think it's pretty obvious to many people, even back in that day, that you would want to remain faithful to your husband and have like there's a bond there. Like, it doesn't have to be blood related. Anyway, Aeschylus has them say she doesn't raise her hand to draw shared blood, and so that's why they won't fight Clytemnestra. And I mean, I feel like this is a good thing in the play. I think that like it's great that Clytemnestra has someone on her side because she doesn't have many people on her side. But I do sort of also feel like this is Aeschylus trying to group together strong women and like say that they're just kind of fighting for like women's rights. It's like the feminist idea where there's just like this is so fake, but like lesbians just get to the point where they just hate men and that's why they're lesbians. I've heard this from people. I feel like that's what Aeschylus is trying to do, where he's like, these women, they just hate men, and like they have their reasoning, like, oh, I won't fight against a person who kills her husband because there's not blood, but they do, like they have a history of going against people who've like killed people who aren't related to them. Like the two most famous ones that I could find, by the way, it's so difficult to find information about this on the internet. King Ixion is the very first person in the Greek stories to ever kill one of their family members, and Ixion kills his stepfather, and so the Furies go after him. And stepfathers don't really have a blood relation, so are they going after him because he killed bloodkin? No. Other person they didn't kill, but they did trap and terrify King Theseus and Pirithous. Crazy story. Both of their wives died, and they were like, we need new wives, but we want daughters of Zeus. And so one guy was like, well, I'll take Helen, and she was like 13 at the time. And the other guy was like, I want Persephone, the wife of Hades. And the guy's like, okay, I mean, and he goes and gets Helen and stores her away safely. He's like, let's go and get Persephone. So they go into the underworld. The Furies find them there and are like, there's no way in hell. You're gonna get Persephone because she's married. You're not gonna be like ruining this like relationship thing. And so they go after that. That's a marriage. Obviously they care about marriage, right? So I just feel like Aeschylus is just like putting words into their mouth to try and make them seem like fragile and make them seem irrational. And I just think it all serves this great purpose that comes together at the very end of the play when he's like, you know what, the Furies, they're great, they're powerful, they're a little ridiculous. You know what would really just be a great place for these warlike women is just to settle down and be part of like the fertility of the earth. You know, that's like just what women would be best at doing. He just sets them up to try and like calm them down. It's very taming of the shrew. And what's worse is that he has Athena do it. He has a woman do it. He's like, this woman understands the order of things. You know, she has the idea of where these women really need to be, because she kind of shuts them down, and she's like, you know what? I've got a new job offer for you. And then, to top it all off, this doesn't have anything to do with the Furies, but Athena, she's the goddess of wisdom, and she's like, you know what? I don't think I should make this decision. I think I should put together a bunch of men and have them make this decision. It's a great day. It's a great move. It's a great show. Great play for misogynists everywhere. And I'd just like to thank Aeschylus for his great work in promoting Greek patriarchy.